Hi folks, Dave Schmidt here. It's the afternoon of January 21st. I want to give you a touch of what I'm going to be talking about in the radio program tomorrow night. Well, waiting. How long is this going to take for us to have the RV coming through? We all wish we had it yesterday. We would love to have happened it last month, if not a couple of months ago. And there's all this waiting going on. So what's the reason for that? Well, about 6 weeks ago, I touched on the topic of the sting operations that were going on, and I absolutely believed that. And as after I had said that, within a week, about 5 other sources came out saying the same thing. That was round 1. Last week, I touched on it briefly. I believe we are now in round 2. Round 1 was primarily bringing in the top cabal folks. Round 2 is now bringing in the bankers. There have been reports going on that there's a lot of, quote, elites that are cashing in. You know what? Yeah, that is happening. But it's not what it appears to be on the surface, because there's 2 things that are going on simultaneously. Number 1, what is happening, a lot of these elites are not cashing in for their own personal money. They are the fund managers, the trustees of various large humanitarian aid projects that the cabal, that the Dragon family is releasing their money for. They are being cashed out for their programs, and they're holding the money until it's all released. And the second part of the people that are cashing in is the sting operation. And I'm not going to go into details about it. There was a great post today on Dinar Recaps that talks about the different tier levels. It talked about the first tier being the governments. The second tier was predominantly the humanitarian aid projects, which is going on right now. And the third tier is us. We're next. So that's what's happening. And how long is that going to take? I don't know. And I don't think hardly anybody knows. It's a day-by-day thing. This could be done tomorrow. It may take another couple of months. But here's what I do know, and this is what I have said. We always have to come back to the bottom line question. Who's footing the bill? Who's putting up the trillions of dollars for the dinar revaluation, the global currency reset? There's only one place that kind of money can come from, and that's the Dragon family in China. I talked a lot about that last week. And here's what we also know. If they're releasing the money, they are not going to release that money for greedy cabal types of folks to become ultra wealthy and stay in charge with their wealth. They just won't do that. They will be as patient as necessary and work as long as it takes to have those people neutered. Now, what do I mean by that? Does that mean they're going to be arrested? Not necessarily, not right away. Does it mean they're going to be removed from their jobs? Not necessarily. It means their power and their ability to control is being removed. And that's what I mean by that. So what do we do in the meantime? There's a lot of chatter going on out there. Here's one of the things I've been able to take advantage of during the time that I've been doing this. I have received thousands and thousands of emails from you. And every once in a while, I get some real gems that come through. These are gems because these are people who have been involved with this for a long time, 8, 10, 12 years. These are people that are in the know. These are people that have developed networks and contacts. And these are people who have access to some of the best intel that is out there. But here's what I'm noticing as they communicate with me. They don't post. They don't write on the blog sites. They don't have to be saying stuff that's going on all the time, and they're actually very quiet. And they've been relaying some of that information to me. And out of respect to them, and out of their request, I need to keep that confidential. But what I can do is share the bigger picture. They know what's going on. It's the sting operations. Those folks have to be neutered before we can go forward. They don't even necessarily know the exact dates, and they don't even necessarily know the exact rates. But they do know and see the bigger picture. So that's what's happening. So what is one of the best things that we can do in the meantime while they're waiting? I think we can learn something from them about being quiet. Not creating a bunch of chaos. Because see, here's what I've noticed in the last 3 and 4 weeks. Most of the stuff that's coming out, whether it's writing on the blog sites, it's video newsletters like mine, or even some of the channeled messages that are taking place, most of it, folks, it's just a bunch of chatter. That's all that it is. Now, are there some gems in that chatter? Yeah, there is. There are some gems. There are some good spots in it. But you know what? I like the fact that these guys that have been quietly talking to me, they remind me of that old E.F. Hutton commercial. When E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens. All of a sudden you go silent, you get quiet, and you pay attention. You realize there's substance in what they're saying. And they're probably only going to say it once, and you got to listen. And the rest of the stuff is just a bunch of chatter. So the question is, how do we handle that? Well, I want to make a little bit of a transition here, and I want to move into sharing something of some personal experiences that's really made a difference in my life, and something that I absolutely believe. As we are moving along in a lot of our own scientific research, more and more there are books coming out showing the research of the power of the human thought. Our thoughts produce little electromagnetic waves of communication that goes out there into, the etheric and the universe. And they're kind of like cell phone communications in so many words is a great way to draw an illustration. The human thought projects these thoughts and they can be picked up by other people. But there's something that happens on how well that human thought is communicated. When they take those EKG measurements, put those little nodes up, on your brain and around your head to measure your brain waves, they find that the brain waves come predominantly in 4 different types of waves, 4 different levels: beta, alpha, gamma, and delta. They say that the average person has about 60,000 thoughts per day running through their mind. And they say about 90% of them are just useless. Absolutely useless. They do nothing for you in what you want to accomplish, what you want to do, how you want to feel. But here's what they find is that the people who have the 60,000 thoughts, their brain waves are measured in what is called the beta range. If you look at an EKG graph, the beta range is kind of like a seismic graph during an earthquake. It's just up and down, erratic, all over the place, spiking, boom, 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 boom. What it means is it's the person who has all kinds of erratic drama thoughts going on through their mind. And those thoughts are not productive. They create chaos. They create anxiety. They're generated by fear. And they're generated by other forms of guilt within us of what they are. They don't feel very good. They're hard, they're sharp, they're, and all that kind of stuff. When you learn how to slow your thoughts down and you get into the range of even the low beta and all the way through the alpha range, what happens is when you look at it on an EKG graph, it begins to round out. It begins to go smooth and flowing through. And here's what's interesting. When they study artists that are in the midst of performing their art, they're almost all in the alpha range and even some down into the delta. There's no beta going on there. There's no chaotic thought going on. Creativity, productiveness, peaceful thoughts, gentleness, aspects of love all happen in that thought range. When you're in that range, the alpha and lower, you're at your best. Your thoughts are controlled. You're producing your world. You're creating the world around you that you want to experience. When you're in the chaotic beta range, your thoughts are controlling you. You're kind of out of control. There's chaos. There's drama. There's anxiety. There's anger. There's fear. And the list goes on and on and on about the difference. Well, how do you get there? I want to now share a personal story that happened to me. I grew up as a child where I was a dreamer. My mind was always wandering. I'd sit in classrooms in school and I'd have trouble focusing sometimes because I'd always take off because, the topic the teacher was talking about didn't really attract to me and entice me. Well, this went on through almost from all my early adult life, and it was when I was right around 40 years old, I was diagnosed with adult ADD. I don't have the hyperactive, I don't have the HD, but I was the ADD, which means my mind was always wandering. And yeah, I had a mind that was filled with the beta wave level of thoughts, chaotic, all over the place, fearful, anxiety, and yet times I'd have really highs and other times I'd have really extreme lows. It was hard for me to focus. It was hard for me to stay in being involved in a conversation for extended periods of time. And this went on in my life until I was diagnosed. And when I was diagnosed, I was placed on Ritalin, the ADD drug. And I was on Ritalin for 11 years. But during that period of time, here's what's interesting. Within a couple of weeks, my family began to notice the difference. I was more calm, but also I began to notice something else. Yeah, I was more calm, but I was entering into what was called brain fog. I wasn't as sharp. I didn't have that intuitiveness within me. I didn't have that sense of knowing, that sense of clarity. It slowed me down, but it also created some fog, and I was just kind of, at times. And there were good moments, great moments during those 11 years, but there was an edge of creativity that was lost. Well, shortly after I was 50 years old, something happened. I had an accident where I severely bruised my hip. My first reaction, I thought I'd broken my hip, but I didn't. It was severely bruised. And it laid me up in bed for a few days because it was painful to get up and walk around. So I thought, okay, if I'm in bed, I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to pull some books out and do some reading. And there's only so many hours of reading you want to do. And then I had this thought that hit me. It was about 4 months prior that I had finished reading this book, and it was a new, big, huge, popular bestseller at the time, and it was called The Secret, all about the law of attraction, all about getting in touch with your thoughts. And I remember Rhonda Byrne, the author, said something. Of all the people that she interviewed from so many different walks of life, many different professions, they all had one thing in common. What was it? They all had a daily practice and discipline of meditation. Now, I had stayed away from that for years because I thought it was just a bunch of woo-woo Eastern thinking thought philosophy that just didn't really attract me. But after reading that book and realizing what she said, that, now wait a minute, there's some people in here that just aren't that way. And I thought, what have I got to lose? I might as well give it a shot. So I did. So when I'm laid up there in bed, I started these daily practices of meditation. And after 4 days, something hit me. I hadn't taken my Ritalin in 4 days. Any time prior to that I had tried to go off it, I would start experiencing withdrawal symptoms. There was no withdrawal. It really felt really good. It felt good to be in that place of a relaxed state, a peaceful state, feeling that I was in control of my thoughts. And I thought, there might be something to this. And I continued that practice. I have never had or taken my Ritalin since then. It's been years. Basically, meditation, the daily practice and discipline of meditation, healed me of my ADD. It gave me back everything I wanted and more. And here's what I find. It's a daily discipline practice where you're exercising your brain and you're allowing yourself to get in control of your thoughts instead of your thoughts controlling you. It's an issue that's very similar to exercising your body. If you go out and exercise your body every day, your body's going to get in great shape. Well, if you do a daily discipline of learning how to use meditation, your mind is going to get in really great shape. It's not going to be fat and flabby and out of control. You're controlling it. Just as your body is not fat and flabby out of control, you've got control of your body. That's what meditation does for you. Now let me just give a couple tips and hints. What worked for me. I was thinking, well, how are you supposed to do this? You're supposed to sit in this lotus position, cross-legged, get your fingers like this and stuff like that. You know what I did? I just said, forget all that stuff. I wasn't going to worry about the form. What I wanted to worry about what I wanted to focus on was learning how to go within. And you know what worked for me? I just got in my lounge chair, my recliner, and put on some really soft, soothing, comfortable music and would just focus on a few things and stay there. And I started doing that. And within 2 to 3 weeks, I was noticing huge changes. And then I got a really good book by Wayne Dyer called Getting in the Gap, which is what meditation is. And I used some of those principles. And then there was one other thing that most of the professionals are saying that is very good, is that you get some what is called some meditative music. And what it is by that, it's binaural tones of music. And you have to use stereo headphones to do this. Because in one ear, the megahertz, the beats per minute, are slightly different than in the other ear. And when you have the stereo headphones and your beats per minute are slightly different, the brain adjusts and compensates for the two. And here's what they have done. They had taken professional meditators, some of your monks, who have been practicing this for years, and where it would take them a half hour of meditation to get into this state of where their brainwave was not at alpha, but was even in the low delta ranges. It'd take them a half hour to 45 minutes to get there. When they used this music, some of them found they could get there in 3 to 5 minutes. That's the difference that it makes. So that's what I do now. I'll just do this for 10 minutes a day, twice a day, and my life has changed dramatically. Now, why am I saying that? What does this have to do with the RV of the dinar and the global currency exchange? This isn't, again, just me. This is great medical, scientific, sociological research. The collective thoughts of a group can sway the energy of an event taking place, the persuasion of an event taking place. The cabal are masters at mind control, and they know that. If we come together and learn how to get rid of the chaotic, beta level anxiety thoughts around the dinar taking place, all the worry of, am I going to have enough money? When is my money going to come through? The anxiety of, how am I supposed to handle the banks? What are the banks going to do to me? Are they out to get me? Is somebody going to steal my money? All those are chaotic thoughts at the beta level. You just focus on the place of peace. You focus on the place of the end result of what you want, being in control. And as we do that collectively, we collectively send out that energy impulses of the thoughts that gets picked up out there by the others. That is the one absolute best thing that we can do collectively to bring this event around in a quicker and sooner manner for all of us. Now, you may think that's a bunch of woo-woo thinking, folks, but I'm not a woo-woo guy. Because, see, when I started into doing this research on my own, I said, give me some solid evidence. Give me something that's concrete. Give me something that I know people have done research on. And here's what I'm finding. There are PhD research scientists now all around the country that get this stuff. They understand it. They are daily meditation practitioners because they understand its power, its work. They've done it in their own research. They're starting to understand the power of human thought, that we create the world we want. And as we as a collective group begin to create that world, we are the ones that will change our world. I would like the waiting to be done. I'm like you. I can't control how long the sting operations are going to go on. I can't control about everything else that's taking place out there behind the scenes. But I can control the chatter that comes through my mind and the impact that I allow it to have on me. I can control visualizing what I want to see happen and develop. And what I want to see is for all of us to be able to be walking into the bank with our dinar and our dong and put it into our bank accounts, to our funds, in whatever way that you want that. That's what I want to see. And as I learn how to do this more and become better at it, and as you do too, that's going to make the difference. Let's collectively come together, minimize the wait period, and anticipate with joy, with love, with hope, with faith about coming our way. Stay focused. Stay focused on what you want as the end result. That's what will bring it about quicker. let go of all the chatter that's going on out there in the different blog sites. There's just a ton of it, and most of it is just a bunch of chatter. And then let's patiently wait in strength with each other. Okay? Thanks a lot. Enjoyed it. Hope you join me on the radio program tomorrow night. Okay, good night.